Levarme la moustache en la capucha. Siento pasanilo, mira tacatiki puletica. Siento pasanilo, mira tacatiki puletica. Siento pasanilo, mira tacatiki puletica. Siento pasanilo, mira tacatiki tacatiki. Siento pasanilo, mira tacatiki puletica. Siento pasanilo, mira tacatiki puletica. Siento pasanilo, mira tacatiki puletica. Sani levarme la moustache en la capucha.
What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And today, we're going to talk about the big thing that happened today. Today, Morgan Moses was told to seek a trade today by the Washington football team. And there's a few things I have to say before I start going into this. First, my last video, I had did an analysis on the Canadian players that came in. One was a defensive back and the other one was an offensive lineman. More specifically, he was a left tackle who could also play guard and things like that. In that video, I made it very clear that with these moves of Samuel Cosme, Cornelius Lucas, Charles Leno, John Christian, all these guys, plus the guy from Canada, that spell that Sadiq Charles is not going to be the left tackle. Now today we get the news that Washington has told Morgan Moses to go find a trade partner for him. Now, this is one of these, now one, we have to start off that now this is the last remnant of the Mike Shanahan group. This is the very last guy that was still here. Ryan Kerrigan, again, was a Mike Shanahan guy. Morgan Moses was a Mike Shanahan guy. Both of these guys was here during the Kyle Smith era. So, again, this is the last piece of that group that is now gone. Along with that, we have to understand what this really means and why was this done at this point. Now, again, everybody's talking about the factor of Samuel Cosme being drafted and things like that. But nobody's talking about the praise that Ron Rivera kept giving Sadiq Charles. He kept talking about how amazing Sadiq Charles looked, how great Sadiq Charles has been looking and things like that. Nobody's talking about the fact that Ron Rivera kept emphasizing the fact that Sadiq Charles looks amazing. And then we get this news. Now, I will say this. I hope that this move is more based on the fact that he really does feel that Sadiq Charles or Samuel Cosme, whoever it might be, is actually going to fit better than Morgan Moses. Because understand this, even though Morgan Moses wasn't a Pro Bowler or All-Pro or anything of that such nature, he was reliable. I mean, you're talking about a guy who constantly, I've said this before, he's our Iron Man. He's never out of the lineup. He's never going to be out of the lineup. He's never been out of the lineup. He's never even thought about losing a game. Remember last year, he went from the right side to the left side. So he showed, which is kind of funny, that Ron Rivera would tell him to go seek a trade, because even with that being said, the fact that they told him that also means that if he doesn't find a trade, they're going to release him. So the fact that Morgan Moses was able to play the right side and then switch over to the left side for a game, he actually matches what Ron Rivera is looking for. I mean, a guy who has positional flex. Now, if they felt that he could still be valuable to the team, they could have tried to see if they could kick them into guard or whatever. But I don't want to say I don't understand this move, because I told y'all when they brought in all these offensive linemen, I said we had a plethora of these. It was strange, but I knew something was coming up. Something was going on that did not make any sense. Now, back to what my original thing was. I hope that this move is Ron Rivera actually feeling like these guys, these young guys, are able to take over and replace Morgan Moses. And this is not about Morgan Moses' friendship with Brandon Sheriff and trying to find a way to make a point to Brandon Sheriff that this is not a joke. Because you refuse to speak to us, in turn, what we will do is release your friend. Not only any friend, your best friend. So I wonder about that. Because sometimes you sit up there and you try to make sure that Ron Rivera's thinking is always right. That this is not to say that Ron Rivera is in fact releasing him because of his friendship with Brandon Sheriff, but I say don't rule that out. Because we've seen coaches do petty stuff before to prove a point to another player. We've seen coaches trade players that they were buddies of just to prove something to another player, or not sign a guy because it didn't make sense. Hell, we had that situation here with the Ryan Clark situation. That very same situation where they jettisoned Ryan Clark or let him walk just so they can get Sean Taylor into the mode of understanding what he was to them. But again, I hope this isn't one of those things, because they didn't like that Ryan Clark was so vocal. So here we are again. Now, Morgan Moses has always been a team guy. He hasn't been a guy that was vocal about much of anything. But I hope that this wasn't Ron Rivera being petty and trying to let Brandon Sheriff know, oh, you not speaking to us? Okay, we not speaking to you neither. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of your best friend on the team. I hope it wasn't that. Again, like I said, I'm not saying that it is, but I just hope it wasn't that. Also, we can't really pay attention to the fact that, Morgan Moses was a 30-something-year-old tackle, and, there were times where he had false starts and penalties and things of that such. And that happens with offensive linemen. It just does. I mean, hell, there was one time where I can't remember the defensive player, but they said that offensive linemen hold every play. So it happens. But again, you don't find a bookend guy like this that you know for a fact can play a multitude of games. Because even if you're thinking about it, Samuel Cosme has played, but he's also had an injury history as well, as did Sadiq Charles. So, I mean, we have to make sure that these guys are just as reliable as Morgan Moses has been. Because if they don't work out, then we're talking about a bigger problem down the line. And the one thing we don't want is that for all this cultural change that's going on, that Ron Rivera is still trying to prove something in this whole thing. Ron's already got the team. He's already got a lot of the public to buy in. I hope that he's not doing that and trying to prove a point with this particular move. Hopefully, I hope he does an interview soon. I will say this, Ron, please do an interview very soon for us so we can understand this move, because right now it's tough for us to grasp this particular move. It's tough and it's not only me. A lot of the public feels this way. We're trying to find out why this move had to be made. Of all the offensive linemen we currently have, because don't get me wrong, if you would have let Jaron Christian go, we would understand. Cornelius Lucas, we would understand. Hell, even the fact that you brought back Eric Flowers and you let him go, we would still understand. But we don't understand Morgan Moses. Because again, he's our most consistent offensive lineman when it comes to health and playing games. So you have to explain this to us. You have to explain it to us. That's the only way we're going to understand what's going on. Now, Ryan Kerrigan. I didn't really want to talk about Ryan Kerrigan because I felt that this happens all the time, but I want to preface this by saying this. The NFC East has always been a collective of teams that have always snatched talent from each other. I think that, in my personal opinion, we at Washington has snatched more talent from our opponents, especially within our division, more than any team possible. I mean, a lot of people tend to forget how many players we snatched from the Giants, from the Cowboys, and from the Eagles. We've snatched a ton of players. I mean, when you think about it, everybody, Jesse Armstead was here. He was the longtime Giant for God knows how long. Michael Burrow, we tried to snatch him. He wasn't worth anything, but we tried to snatch him. Jeremiah Trotter, we took him. In Dallas, we had Stacy McGee, and I forgot the other guy's name that had the microfracture surgery. We took him. We took their defensive tackle. I can't remember his stupid name, but he was effective for us for a very long time. Ronald Darby, we got him from the Eagles. Landon Collins, we got him from the Giants. You talking about? I mean, in regards to Antonio Pierce going to the Giants. We had LeVar Arrington go to the Giants. We had Brian Mitchell go to the Giants and the Eagles. We had, remember, for the years when we went against the Cardinals, we had to get Larry Sanders because he was murdering us for so long. Then we also found a way to snatch Eric Swan. Everybody tends to forget when we brought Eric Swan in, but he was murdering us and we brought him in. Ken Harvey, one of my favorite players of all time. We snatched Ken Harvey from the Cardinals. I mean, there's always been this thing of where we've stolen talent, or talent has been stolen from us. James Thrash came from us to Philadelphia. How many of y'all remember Alfred Morris had a serious game against us in a Dallas uniform? So it happens, people. It happens. And I'll also say this, and this is my last thing on Ryan Kerrigan. For all of you who are mad about the fact of him going to the Eagles or signing with the Eagles, I'll say this. We used them up. We used up all the gas that was in that tank that we could possibly use, and we used it for a very long time as a losing team. At the end of the day, guess what? Understand this. We burned up all the gas that could be burned up on Ryan Kerrigan, and there is nothing there currently. So guess what? At the end of the day, for all of you who are mad about him moving on, why? Don't be mad. There's nothing to be mad about because at the end of the day, we used him up. We used him up. And now he's going somewhere else where the only thing he's going to do is basically give them the directions on how to beat us. And that's pretty much it. But guess what? We're already moving in a different direction. At the end of the day, there's nothing to be mad about. This isn't a Brian Mitchell situation or an Antonio Pierce situation or a LeVar Arrington situation. This isn't that. This isn't that at all. This isn't one of those things where we are losing a guy who still got some wheels on him. Nah, we're only losing a backup. We're only losing a backup. So at the end of the day, who cares that Ryan Kerrigan signed with the Eagles? Doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we got what we needed out of him, and now it's time to move on and be happy. This has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.